Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Defense Radio, the podcast. I am your host, Josh Nahosa, and I am an independent advisor representative for Swan DFW. That stands for Sleep Well at Night, Dallas-Fort Worth, and that is the company that puts on this podcast.
Yes, sir.
And I am here with the man who survived 7.5 hours at Citi Field in New York a couple of weeks ago, as y'all are watching.
That's 3 baseball games.
It is Hector and Josh.
Golden Mets, maybe.
Hector is a certified financial planner, which is the top mark in our industry. He's been doing this since 1993. He learned a couple of weeks ago.
That's right.
And now he's here.
And now I'm here.
Yep. And all his life decisions led him to doing a podcast, which it would help if you guys would like and maybe comment on wherever it is you're watching, whether that's Spotify, Facebook, or YouTube, or wherever else you may have found this website.
Because we send it up via smoke signal.
Yes.
For those that are still in that technology.
Yeah, if you look out to the northeast at 11 a.m. on every Thursday, you can see
our podcast,
but in smoke signal format.
Yeah.
So, today we are talking about the advantages and maybe disadvantages of home ownership, and also the advantages and disadvantages of renting.
Yeah. In another life, I was a home builder, and so I'm very passionate about home ownership, especially for young people. And but we're going to walk through that. And so maybe if you're used to this and you're a little older, this might be something very, that might help more your kids or grandkids. But we're going to walk right through it. We're not a real estate office. We're not licensed real estate people, but like anything else, we offer opinions on anything. So there you go.
Yeah. Of course, don't do anything without consulting a professional. And lucky for you, we are professionals, and our phone number and email address will be in the description wherever it is you're watching or listening, and we'll read that at the end.
Yeah, I think this will be good.
So, let's jump right into it.
Okay.
Let's talk, I guess, overarching, broad strokes. What would you like people to take from today's episode?
A couple things. Everything else being equal, home ownership, and we'll discuss why, is usually better than renting. But what's fascinating about guys your age, people your age, is that they're not buying homes quite like we've done in past generations. And the reason is, when you buy a home, that stabilizes you, but on the flip side of that, it's harder to move. And so if young people are wanting to move to different parts of the country and do different things, that becomes more of a burden when you own a home. So hopefully we'll give you an unvarnished, here are the facts, and then you do what you think is best for you. And
there are, of course, advantages and disadvantages to both.
That's right.
Just like in everything in life, there's pros and there's cons. So we're going to highlight just some of those. So let's talk about the first big advantage to owning a home, and that is equity building.
Right.
The net worth of homeowners is about 40 times greater than people that rent. And that stat you can find over on our Facebook page as you guys are watching. Also, 90% of homeowners feel a greater sense of financial well-being.
Right.
So that's a big advantage for owning a home.
Yeah. You're going to have to live somewhere, and you can either pay rent, and usually we'll talk about some of the advantages of that. Easier to get into, it's usually cheaper. But once you get into a home, you start building equity, and that stabilizes you. And home ownership kind of has other implications in your life when you fill out like a job application and those kind of things. When an employer sees that you're buying instead of renting, means more, exactly what you said. It tells them more stability, that you've taken the time to buy a home, and so you're likely to stay in that area for a while.
Yeah. Stability is an important thing.
That's right.
Especially financial stability.
But it was interesting what you said is the people that buy the home have a bigger sense of financial well-being. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, it's your home. You're buying something. And two, if you locked in a 15 or 30-year mortgage, you know what your payment is going to be more or less for the duration of the mortgage. Your taxes and insurance are going to fluctuate. So it's not like it's going to be stagnant, but your principal and interest payment will always be the same if you lock that in. So yeah, that gives everybody a sense of well-being. This is my payment for the next 15 or 30 years.
Yeah, and I guess that would be one of the disadvantages to renting, is that you don't necessarily know what your payment's going to be in a year or two or 5.
Whenever you renew your lease, especially if you're in a really nice place and rents have gone up all over the place, when your renewal comes up, it really doesn't matter how well you've paid or how long you've been a good client. What matters is what's happening in the marketplace around you. And if rents have gone up, your rent is likely to go up. So that's a kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Another advantage to owning a home is customization. If you're building a home, you can kind of build it how you want.
That's exactly right. But even if you're buying a home that's already built, you can do all the things you want to do with it. Put new carpets down, paint every wall a different color, put glitter on the ceilings. It used to be a big deal in the 70s, by the way. Customize your bathroom so it fits how you do. You just can do a lot of things in your home. And in your yard, you can plant the gardens, or you can, whatever, that you can't really do when you're renting, or you need permission. And sometimes they don't want you to do that because today, a landlord may look and say, yeah, that makes life easier today, but the upkeep of that a year or 2, 5 or 10 is going to be more expensive. So I'd rather you not do that. So you don't have control, obviously, because you don't own it when you're renting. But when it's your home, it's your home. If you're going to do something outside, check with your homeowners association. Make sure you don't need a building plan for building a deck or whatever it is you're going to do. Because, I just watched The Big Bang Theory, which was a huge, big deal on a deck that was built without a building permit. So don't be like them.
Yeah.
That's where I get all my current information from, by the way.
Yeah, if there's ever a trivia night for Big Bang Theory facts, I think Hector, he would definitely finish top half.
Well, yeah.
I think the amount that he watches, the information that he retains.
Hey, it's funny. It makes me laugh.
Yeah.
In today's world, we need stuff like that.
That is true. It's a great point. We've talked about a couple of positives about home ownership. Let's talk about maybe a negative to balance it out. We can't be too happy.
Can't be too happy.
Right. So a negative here would maybe be it's expensive up front to buy a house.
Yeah, it can be. If you're a first-time homeowner, there's some programs, and we'll talk about a little bit about them towards the end of the thing. But if you're buying, your second or your third home, you sold one, you're probably going to need about 20% down, and then you got closing costs, and then when you move into a new house, here's an ancillary disadvantage: is you don't want your old furniture, especially if you just built a brand new house. So you got to get rid of your old furniture, but then you got to go buy new furniture, and then all of a sudden you're not only $400,000 or $500,000 into the mortgage, you're another $25,000 or $30,000 into the furniture company. So yeah, cost is certainly something you need to think about before you get in it.
Yeah. Another disadvantage maybe would be flexibility. We talk about in investments, liquid investments, stuff that you can get cash easily from, and believe it or not, a house is not the most liquid thing if you suddenly need to up and move.
That's right.
That's a trickier thing than up and moving from an apartment, which I guess would be an advantage to renting.
That's right. Yeah, if you buy a house and then the market goes down, you could be selling a house worth less than what you bought it for. That goes all the way back to 2008. It was a big home crisis back then. So one of the things I would tell young people especially, if you've saved up say $40,000 or $50,000, and you've saved that up because you want to put a big down payment on your home. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying give it some thought, because once you put $50,000 into say a $300,000 home, yes, you've reduced your mortgage by $50,000, but for every $10,000 you put into a home, on average, you're going to save about $100 a month, because eventually it gets down to what's the monthly. But if you have that $50,000 and that's all you have, usually from a financial planning perspective, not a real estate perspective or a CPA perspective, we like to see people get in with the minimum number of dollars they can get in to a home, so that they can keep the other whatever $40,000 liquid. So something comes up, you all of a sudden need to buy a new car, or you need to buy something, you have liquidity. If you put all the money in the house, it's hard. And once you buy a house, especially a home that's not brand new, you're going to have things that you've never had before. You've been renting. You have air conditioners that go out. You have plumbing that needs to be redone. You have all kinds of expenses that can come up very, very quickly. So try to get into a home with as little cash as you can, so that you can have cash available for any unforeseen emergency.
Yeah.
And again, that's a CFP's kind of perspective.
Yeah. What would you say is something that new homeowners should know before getting into buying a home? Either about the process or just straight up about owning a home. What's a thing that maybe people don't necessarily think about?
Especially in the market as hot as the DFW market can get, getting pre-approved for a loan is really a good thing. So if you go look at a house and you like it, you can move quickly. In the old days, you would put a $500 earnest money and then go to a mortgage company, and the process would start. If you do all that up front, you can move faster. You'll go to the top of the line on a home you might like. The other thing, like we talked about, is be aware that you're going to have costs in ownership that you didn't have when you were renting. So you need to, we talk about that emergency money fund that should be 3 to 6 months. That's what it's for. So, and air conditioners never go out in December. They go out in July.
Uh-huh.
So you have to do something like right now, or you're going to die in your brand new home. So be aware of those things. Also be aware that when they say your principal and interest payment is, say, $1,500, that's not your total payment, because most mortgage companies are going to want you to pay, are going to demand that you pay. You prepay your taxes and your insurance every month. It's called an escrow account, and every month you put the money in and you replenish it, because you have another thing called closing costs when you close on a home. That's how the mortgage company makes its money, and there's a title search and all of those things that happen. But also you pre-fund your taxes and your insurance escrow account, so that as it's being paid out every month that you put in, you're replenishing it. So you're always a year ahead on that, but that's going to be a part of your monthly payment. So you got 4 parts. So you got your principal, your interest, your insurance, and your taxes. Also, on the good side, be aware that much of your closing costs now, especially for first-time home buyers, can be financed. You can roll that into the price of your home if it appraises. That's another thing we'll talk about, is appraisal, so that you don't have to come up with as much upfront money. But just like we said, a lot of cash will lower your monthly payment. As you put more on your mortgage, your payment might go up. If you put $10,000 on closing costs, you probably got another $100 a month over a 30-year period. So these are some things, and most real estate agents now, most larger brokers have like workshops and stuff to do for first-time home buyers. Go to those. Those will be good. You don't want to walk in and start learning about home ownership 60 days after you've closed on your home.
Yeah.
And then realize, I don't want to do this.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a minute.
This maybe was a bad idea.
Yeah, you can't just call your landlord and say, hey, the plumbing's leaking, or there's water all over the floor. Now you're the guy, and you got to figure out. And so, yeah.
So maybe that's a disadvantage to owning a home, is you now are the landlord.
That's right.
There's nobody to call.
Yeah. all those advantages of being able to do everything, again, the downside is there's nobody. And I would also, there's these homeowner warranty companies that will say, we will warrant your home for you. I'm sure some people have had really good luck with them, and I don't want to but we paid on one for a long time, and then our air conditioner went out. And so we called them and said, hey, we've been paying on this policy for, 3 or 4 or 5 years, and now our air conditioner is the first claim we've ever had. Our air conditioner went out. Can you replace it? And they came out and said, no, because you didn't do your 6-month checks on this thing like you were supposed to, and you didn't replace this, or you didn't call us when you did. And so just be aware of those. Again, I'm sure there's been tons of people that have done really, really well with those. Personally, I've not had good luck with them, so what we call in the business, self-insure. Instead of paying a couple of $100 a month, better to put $200 a month in our
emergency
oh shoot account. When something breaks, oh shoot, and you have money there, so you can go fix that.
Yeah.
And when you do fix it well. For a large part of my life, I would have guys come over, plumbers, electricians, air conditioning people, and say, we can do this one of two ways. We can do it this way, and it'll cost $1,000, but it'll probably last you 20 years, or we can do this for $200, and it may last you a couple of 3 years. And I always went the cheap route, and I always kicked myself because a year or two later I was in, and now that $1,000 bill became $1,500. So do it right the first time. You'll save probably long-term some money and a lot of headaches.
Yeah. So, with all of that being said,
Well,
why don't you tie that into a nice, neat bow? What's the bottom line when deciding if you should buy or if you should rent? What's the bottom line thing that people should take?
Yeah. Are you going to be here a while? Are you and if you're married, are you and your spouse on the same wavelength? Is this going to be a place you're going to be for a while? Because once you get into a house, like we talked about earlier, it's going to be a little harder to get out and move on. Make sure you have, once you've considered your principal and interest and insurance and taxes, that's roughly a third of your take-home pay, so that you're not being strangled. You don't want to get into a brand new home and not live comfortably. So make sure you can afford it. And if you can, if you check those two boxes, then if you're going to be there and you can afford it, it might make some sense to buy, because now you're going to start building equity. Your personal balance sheet, you need to think of yourself as you Inc. You are like a company, and you want to start building assets. And one of the easiest assets to build is going to be your home, because you're going to pay somebody something. May as well pay a mortgage company on your home, and you buy it for $300,000 or $400,000, you pay on it for 8 or 9 years, and you have some amount of equity. Which reminds me, going all the way back to one of the things you should be aware of is most people. This is an old statistic. When I was building homes, this was true. Don't know if it's true now. Should have looked it up, but I didn't. Mortgages are front end loaded for 5 years, because that's about the normal length of stay for a homeowner, especially a first-time homeowner. So if you're paying $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month principal and interest and insurance and taxes, and you bought the home for $300,000 and you pay for it for 5 years, you would think, good, I paid $60,000 on this principal and interest. Surely I owe $250,000. Wrong. Usually you'll owe close to the same $300,000 principal, because all of the interest was paid in those first 5 years. Once you get past the 5 years, then most of your payment is going towards the principal. But mortgage companies figured out a long time ago that if they front load that interest, they'll make more money. And so, surprise. So if you can't afford it, you're going to be around for a while. Yeah, I think buying a home is a good place to start. You don't have to buy your last home your first time. Just get into a home, start building equity. Down the road, you sell the home, you take that equity, put it in the next house, and then things will be good. Or you can do what Your mom and I did. We bought a house. That was the plan, and we just stayed in it for 25 years. So it's always plan B.
So if you have any questions or comments, or would like to talk to somebody about financially planning for buying a home or renting,
unbiased. We don't have a dog in the fight, so we'll just be unbiased with that. Sorry, go ahead.
We have a couple of different ways that we can that you can contact us, because we can't contact you first. That's the way this agreement works.
Well, we can, but FCC gets really mad.
Yeah. The first way is via phone number, and that is 888-792-6339. And we have an email address, and that is info@swandfw.net. Both of those will be in the description wherever it is you are watching or listeing.
You threw out a bunch of numbers there for a phone number. What does that spell? Anything?
I don't know. Why don't you tell the people?
That number that he just said, it's Swan DFW. So it's 888-SWAN-DFW. And give us a call. We're lonely. We need to talk to people. It's been a long time.
Yeah. That's 888-792-6339 for those of you that don't want to figure out how to spell Swan DFW with your number pad on your phone thing.
Okay.
All of those will be in the description wherever it is you are watching or listening. Hector's very proud of the phone number.
Yeah.
When you call, make sure to tell them.
Do you think people recognize how much we rehearse these things before we go and record these podcasts?
I have to think they know we rehearse almost zero.
Well, it's a free-flowing conversation about a topic. How about that?
Yeah. There's a lot of editing. Shout out Caleb, our editor.
Yeah. He makes us look good.
He does. They say that camera adds 20 pounds, but he only makes us add 10 pounds. So
well, I have 6 cameras on me. That's why I look so big.
Things are looking up. So thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Thank you. God bless.
The preceding content is informational only and based on information available when created. It is not an offer or solicitation, nor is it tax or legal advice. It does not consider your financial circumstances and objectives and may not be suitable for you.